Well, as we gather notebooks and backpacks, let's not forget about a very important item on our checklist, our children's health and safety. Our next guest is here to share some sage advice that will not only help our kids have a fantastic academic year, but will also keep them in tip-top shape. Joining us today is Dr. Samuel Siegel, a pediatric specialist from Dignity Health Medical Group in Woodland. Welcome to you, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So let's talk about that physical. It's kind of like an annual rite of passage. How can parents get the most out of it to ensure that their kids are healthy going back to the classroom?
They can come prepared with questions. And certainly I think it's important to know that we don't do a routine hearing and vision screen at every checkup for every year. So if you have concerns about your child's vision or their hearing, you can ask and then we can do it as needed.
Do they do that in schools anymore? I remember doing that like
They do routine visual screens. So oftentimes we will get a child that has a concern on a school screen to come double check with us.
So all summer long, parents, get those questions ready for the doctor when you go in for that first physical exam.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a good tip. And you know, I know this was always a struggle for me too, was kind of readjusting the routine. You become night owls when you're at home in summer. How do we kind of readjust our routines to become early bird scholars?
So let me just say, I understand all the parents who took their summers off and, you know, a little lax on the bedtime, you know, it's okay. But I think that sleep hygiene is important, you know, all year. So certainly screen time is definitely the most important thing, I think, for your screen. So you need to start thinking about bedtime beginning an hour before you want your child to go to sleep. So if you want them to go to sleep at 10, at 9 o'clock, have them, you know, if you can, put away the phones, turn off the TV, turn off the video games, even dim the lights a little bit in the house. And because you have to prepare basically your child's brain for sleep. We're on a natural circadian rhythm, but your brain needs signals to start preparing for sleep.
It's almost like when you were a little kid and you read books, bedtime books. It's almost kind of getting into that routine of getting rid of the screen, kind of going back to a different routine to get you ready and go to bed a little earlier. I remember my parents would kind of like start going to bed a little earlier, about, you know, August or so, like, okay, we're going to start, you know.
Ease into it.
Ease into it, so it's not so jarring, too, because nobody can do something like, you know, like that, like let's switch our entire routine and, So does sleep affect kids' health overall?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and that's why, you know, last year was the first year where they mandated start times in schools, especially for teenagers, right? So middle schools cannot start before 8 and high schools cannot start before 8:30. Because I know that teenagers are on a different circadian rhythm. They tend to go to sleep a little bit later and then they wake up a little later. So they move the school times start back so that teenagers can have an adequate amount of sleep, which of course affects energy, attention span, I mean, you name it.
Oh yeah. Where was that when we were in high school?
I know, seriously.
Darn it. Well, with the hustling of the school routines, how can parents maybe maintain a healthy diet to make sure their kids are have all the right nutrients as they go back to school?
So I think it's important for parents to know that your child is not going to eat every vegetable, every fruit, right? You know, my kids don't eat everything, but what they do eat, I tend to have available on a regular basis. And if you can, on a Sunday or a Saturday or anytime you have downtime, try to get food prep, try to have vegetables pre-chopped up so they can just be grabbed and put in the kid lunches or grabbed and put on the dinner plate. And also certainly for dinner time, like if your kid is more of a fruit person, it's okay to have, you know, an apple or a peach or banana with dinner. If you know they're not going to eat the broccoli, just get a fruit on there. Just get something that's from the earth on the plate.
And I think if you're eating that, they'll eat it too.
Absolutely. It's huge for parents to model that good eating habits. Absolutely.
And breakfast is the most important meal of the day, right? Any tips?
Breakfast is tough because I do hear a lot of kids, they wake up, they're not hungry. But I think it's important to get just a little something, maybe a little, you know, just like a little piece of fruit or maybe even, you know, some breakfast cereal, just a little something like oatmeal or something, just to get the metabolism going throughout the day. Because then, you know, an hour or two after they get to school, they're starving, and then they're not thinking about math, they're thinking about when can I eat.
And just how important is food to the overall health of our kids as they're growing? I mean, that's a very important time.
I would say that what you feed your kids is probably the most important thing for their physical health. There is nothing more important than the food and the nutrition that you provide for your kids as far as their present and then long-term health.
Can you maybe shed some light on the importance of children's vaccinations? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so vaccinations are hugely important. I mean, we've been able to basically eliminate diseases and conditions that were very common, you know, decades, 50, 60 years ago. And so it's important to remember that the vaccines that we give them on a schedule that's optimal for your child's immune system to uptake, and also at the point in their life when the child might be most susceptible to severe disease from that bacteria, that virus that we're vaccinating them against.
And what can parents do against the sniffles and sneezes? What can they do to help children from spreading all those germs?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. You know, I mean, hand washing is huge. You know, teaching your kids about the cough pocket and covering their mouth when they cough or covering their nose when they sneeze. But it's tough. Your kids will go to school or preschool. They will get sick, and it's just going to happen. It's the natural process of building up their immune system. So it's going to happen, but you got to kind of roll with the punches with your kids getting sick. It's just part of, I think, growing up and part of being a parent.
It builds character, as my parents said.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Doctor. And for more on the Dignity Health Woodland Clinic, you can connect to dhmf.org/Woodland.